All right. Hi there. This is Annette, and we're here to talk about, or I'm here to tell you about freedom from skin picking, how to succeed in the new year. Not quite the new year anymore, I realize. I did this webinar a couple weeks ago, and that's why it's like it was the new year, but everything in it is completely applicable anyway. So, no matter when it is, really. Let's talk. Oh, right. So first, these frogs want to give you a high five, as do I, as do you please give yourselves. And this seems really silly. I really giggled when I saw this picture, but I loved it right away. And I want you to actually take this seriously. This is actually an important part of the presentation because the point that I want to make with this is that you have to stay encouraged. You have to give yourself encouragement and acknowledge the positive steps that you're taking towards reducing your skin picking and, maybe eventually becoming free of it altogether. This is hard work. And so it really is so important that you focus not so much on the picking, but on the positive steps that you're taking. So really, really great that you're here today, that you're listening to this and watching this presentation. And so, hey, good step here. And then, by the end of the presentation, I want you to have lined up some other things that you're going to start to implement, some changes that you're going to make, actions that you're going to take. And that will be great. Okay, so a little bit about who I am, because I know some of you probably know me, but some of you may not know me. And so, of course, you're probably wondering then, like, well, who is this person and how do I know she can help me or, knows what she's talking about? So there's a few reasons for that, so that I know what I'm talking about. And the first one is that I have been there myself. So I had a major skin picking problem for a couple of decades plus, and it just progressively was getting worse and worse until I really was able finally to take some positive steps and start to recover from it. And that was a long process. So I want you to understand that, first of all. And part of it I outlined in this book, The Skin Picking, The Freedom to Finally Stop, which is really a self-help book. But I also, include a chapter about my own journey. And I'll just kind of highlight some major points here. So, it was when I started taking positive actions, when I started, first of all, learning, I got this complete idiot's guide to breaking bad habits, which was surprisingly helpful. And I really was able to make a lot of progress with that for a time, temporarily until I got back into my job and was very stressed and working and got discouraged, stopped doing the things that they said in there and got discouraged and backslid. And then the next kind of major step for me was when I got deep into yoga, meditation, the breathing exercises, the chanting, and was doing things for a time really intensively. And the picking got so much better during that. And then ultimately got back to real life. And, again, when the stress increased or my positive behaviors decreased, the picking increased. And again, kind of going back into that hopelessness and discouragement. So I want you to know I understand the backslides. I understand this emotional roller coaster that we tend to be on, whether we pick or not. And I understand the self-doubt, the low self-confidence, everything that's going with that. And now I understand, more about how to get yourself out of that. And so the next step of my journey was looking online finally and finding the OCD Center of Los Angeles in, I think, about 2010. And yeah, 2010. And I joined the therapy group there. They had a group for skin picking and hair pulling. And that was really major for a couple of reasons. So the first reason was that there are some very specific things that you need to do for skin picking that the complete Idiot's Guide to Bad Habits didn't tell me, and I couldn't ever find anywhere else any information at that point. And the second reason it was really helpful or really important was just because of the fact of talking to people, other people who had been doing this, like normal people. And I mean, I thought I was like the only freak who did this for a very long time, but talking to everyone else and seeing their progress, like seeing people get better from this. And so, I did the things that they were teaching, telling me, and at the end of the 5 months I spent there going every week, I had made a lot of progress. And at that point, I decided I wanted my Saturday afternoons back, and I would continue doing the things that I learned there. All this to say, again, this is a long term. You got to keep these things up for a long time, some of which I'll be telling you about. And then finally, or not finally, but then, about half a year later, I gave up sugar for a totally unrelated reason. But a week after that, I noticed that I wasn't picking at all. I wasn't having any urges to pick. And I found that very amazing. And also at the same time, or around the same time, I think I had made another change in my diet, which had helped me deal with some back pain I was having. It, caused that to totally get better. And so I decided that I wanted to become a health coach because this stuff, just what we could do with food and other things is amazing. And so I went to the health coach training in the July of 2011. And by March of 2012, I had all worked out a program, my initial coaching program, and had found my first client. So in March of 2012, I started coaching. And so that's coming this March. That'll be 5 years I've been coaching and have helped, probably a couple hundred people become a lot more free of the skin picking behavior. Some have stopped completely. Others have just, really regained their lives back and just, are not picking to the point where it's an issue anymore. And probably helped a lot more people from the book because I know I've sold a few thousand of those, and people, from time to time email me or write positive reviews saying the book has really helped them a lot. And the initial sessions I do with people, same thing. It's like, a lot of people have really made remarkable progress just from reading a book. So that's so wonderful. It makes me really happy. All right, so let me give you an overview of the talk. So we're going to cover a lot here. I know some of you know some things already, and others of you know other things. And so I want to kind of give you as much value as I can. So we're going to cover a lot. And so first we're going to talk about, why do you pick in the first place? Everyone seems to want to know that. And what do you need to do overall to recover? And then we're going to talk about mental preparation, like how you need your outlook to be for the new year, or just, from here on out. We're going to talk about addictive thinking, what that is, and a few examples for you to look out for, and also about recognizing and counteracting certain thought tendencies that you have. So we tend to think a certain way as people who pick. And then give you some physical strategies. So talking about strategies, we'll talk about blocking strategies and state changing strategies. And I'll explain what those are later when we get to them. And then we'll talk about implementation of strategies because, most of us, quite frankly, when we know a strategy, we know what to do. It's still hard to make ourselves do it and, do it at the right time and place and just do it in general. So I'll give you a tool for this to make it easier to implement your strategies, and that's called the positive lock. And then we'll talk about the importance of support, what that does for you. And then I'll introduce you a little bit to my coaching services and my new online course that I'm very excited about. So I launched this online course very quietly just to my email list in October. And because I wanted to make sure, make sure that it was good. And so now, from some of the feedback I've gotten from people who are in the course, I can see like, okay, they like this and this is working, and they're getting a lot out of it. So I can now offer it to everyone. Okay, so why do you pick in the first place? So everyone wants to know the answer to this, right? And the easy way to answer this, or the short answer, is simply that you're wired this way. We have just exceptionally sensitive nervous systems, those of us who are prone to skin picking. And there's been very little research on skin picking scientifically, but the one thing, or one of the things that has been learned, is that it does have a large genetic component. So yeah, we're kind of born susceptible to doing this. So then the question is, well, what we know, genetics aren't everything, so there's environmental factors involved. And so a lot of reasons your body's learned that picking is the best way to deal with certain things. Things like stressors. So a lot of different kinds of stress, I mean, it might have started, you might remember that started with some kind of trauma, or hard time, stressful time, in your childhood, or later in life even. Or it might have started just because, you had some like mosquito bites or something, and you just kind of learned that picking at them felt pretty good, or relieve the itch, things like that. And so it could be that kind of sensory thing, or an enjoyment, or an escape. We use it to focus. So for some of us, it just having some movement helps us focus, and you just kind of got hooked on the picking for that reason. Reducing stress, I think I mentioned, but there's lots of kinds of stress. So, mental and emotional stress, or physiological stress. You could be eating the wrong foods, eating a lot of processed foods or sugar can be stressors, or foods that you're sensitive to. For, a lot of different reasons, we can develop sensitivities. So, and stimulants as well. So coffee, uh, and some people start, quite a few people start picking from certain ADHD medications. So these are all stressors, and the picking serves to calm us down, at least in the moment, although overall it kind of increases stress and anxiety, and those become a withdrawal symptom. You calm yourself down in the moment, but then those feelings come up even more in the absence of picking, and then you need the quote unquote drug again of the picking, to feel better again. A lot of us also use it as an emotional escape, a way to not feel uncomfortable emotions. And so the picking has been learned for any number of these reasons. It's been learned, and once something is learned well, especially motor activity like walking, it becomes unconscious. So you can walk and not have to think about it at all. You can think of a million other things, and same with the picking. It becomes an unconscious behavior. So, what do you need in order to stop now? What do you need to learn in order to stop? Well, it could be any number of things. It could, just relating off the last slide, I mean, it could be you need better ways to soothe yourself and to reduce stress, to calm down in the moment. You might need to learn how to focus in other ways, or to meet your sensory needs. Sometimes we have certain just needs for touch, for certain, more pressure on our skin. Could be we need to learn ways of dealing with our emotions, or interpersonal communication, better ways. Some therapy can be very helpful with that. Could be we need to remove those foods that are giving us trouble. All these things. And then, of course, because it's unconscious, we will need to learn ways to make it conscious, to become more conscious, more mindful, and also just figuring out, like, okay, exactly when and where do we do it, and what are the circumstances? Are you having certain thoughts or emotions before? So getting very specific on those kind of things. We won't really talk too much about that today, but that's kind of first. So one thing I want to bring up is just that your mental outlook is really important. Like I alluded to in the first slide when we talked about the frogs, or when I showed the frogs, excuse my cough, please, is that it really matters that you have a positive attitude. And I know this can be a challenge, and it's not that you have to be hopeful all the time. I understand that you have a lot of doubts. That's totally natural. But you have to be willing to at least lead with the hope that you do have, and do some action, take some actions. And then when you see the fruits of your actions, you'll naturally become more hopeful, hopefully more determined, and you have to be ready to work. So this is some hard work here, and it's really hard to make ourselves do things when we're in a negative mental state, right? So, just in case you are really depressed, like clinically depressed, and you also have a skin picking problem, I really encourage you to work on the depression first, because I have seen that it's really hard to get anywhere with the picking when you haven't dealt with the depression first. So really do that. I mean, get some cognitive therapy for that. Make sure you're getting exercise. That can really help depression. Research has shown better than drugs can. And also, an excellent book to read is A Mind of Your Own by Kelly Brogan, who's a psychiatrist. And I think that's a really good way to get yourself on track, is to follow her recommendations. And she says that, and she's a psychiatrist that doesn't even prescribe drugs anymore, because she believes that working with your food and supplements and meditation, stress reduction, that kind of stuff is more helpful. And has no side effects, which unfortunately the drugs have terrible side effects. So she actually says that most depression is coming from a vitamin B12 deficiency or low thyroid function. So those are some things to check out. Okay, another thing about your mental outlook is that you have to be realistic. So you have to understand this is a long-term process. You can't just make a New Year's resolution, for example, and be all hopeful and then just devastated when you pick again, because you're not looking realistically. If you were picking every day, every single day, and you just expect all of a sudden, because you say you're going to stop picking, you expect that you're going to stop picking. Like, that's not how it works. This is a long-term process, and you have to expect setbacks. You have to expect picking on the way to no picking. And I love this quote: if you stumble, make it part of the dance, because you gotta expect to stumble. Okay, your stumbles are part of the whole dance of recovery from picking. Okay, and just not getting discouraged every time you pick, or pick more than you have been, is key. So discouragement is your worst enemy. Okay, so some more things about thinking. So I thought we'll touch on some addictive thinking. And what I mean by that is any kind of thinking that's keeping you trapped in your behavior. So like just keeping you being caught up, or bringing you back into the whole trap of your skin picking behavior. The first kind of addictive thinking I want to talk about is really just resisting what is, or what is true right now. And some ways that we do this is with thoughts like, I should be able to stop picking, or I shouldn't have this problem. It's just not acknowledging the reality right now that you do have this problem, and wishing you didn't, or chastising yourself for having it, any of these things, these are useless thoughts. They're keeping you stuck. They're keeping you from taking positive actions. And so they're keeping you in the trap of your behavior. So, the reason why I'm going over these addictive thoughts is for you to start to recognize them and tell yourself, like, you know what? I can let this go. This thought is not helpful. Just to have that other type of thought in there to, like, that is looking at this first thought and saying, this is not helpful. I'm going to let it aside. I don't want to be my worst enemy, basically, by having these thoughts. Another kind of addictive thinking is the all or nothing kind of thinking. So just one example of this is saying, oh, this isn't working 100% or right away, so I might as well give up. Like, this is, and I don't know if this thought is exactly expressed in this way, but, for example, a lot of people try to use some kind of fidget toy, like they'll pick this up and they'll be like, no, it doesn't work for me. And they're judging that it doesn't work for them because they find themselves putting it down and starting picking again unconsciously. And of course that's going to happen. How many thousands of times have you done the picking behavior? And do you expect right away to just pick this up once and it to be a miracle? No, it's something you have to practice at. So, and that's the case with a lot of these strategies, or maybe all of them, is that, they will work when you work. What they say in like AA, it works if you work it. It's the same case here. Another thought trap is I already picked, or another all or nothing thinking thought trap is something like, oh, I already picked, so I might as well keep going. Like if you're setting up the day, if you're setting up every day to think, I'm not going to pick today. Yes, it's going to be a no picking day. And then you start picking and then you just go like, oh, I blew it. And what's the use? Like, you might as well just keep going, keep picking. And that's totally not the case. I mean, a large part of this is, you're going to slip into it at times. And a large part of this work is once you do slip, what are you going to do to get yourself out of that as soon as possible, rather than keep picking? So just recognizing these thoughts and calling them lies, if that's a simple way to deal with them, is like, if you hear yourself, oh, I blew it, so I might as well keep picking, just say, no, that's a lie. It's always better for me to stop once I recognize that I'm picking. Okay, so some more tendencies that you have, like mental kind of tendencies. And I got these from the therapist that when I was in the group at OCD Center of Los Angeles, John Hirschfield, and he's somewhere else now. I think he has his own OCD center or something, but I really liked how he put this, and a lot of my clients really find this helpful too. So just recognizing you've got these 3 tendencies. First of all, you over-focus on your skin. You lean forward into that mirror and just look at those spots, right? That very small area at a time. You're not, seeing your whole face from way back. You're over-focusing. And same thing, if we're talking about touch also, not just with the sense of sight, but, over-focusing, like your fingers are very sensitive and you're feeling bumps on your skin or rough spots or whatever you're feeling, scabs, that's you're overly focused on that with your fingers as well. The next thing, once you over-focus, you over-magnify the imperfections on your skin. So you think this little bump is a big deal, right? And then thirdly, you over-respond to the bump by picking. And so once you can recognize these 3 tendencies, you can remind yourself to practice the opposite. So work against them by thinking or telling yourself instead, focus out. Stand up tall, stand up back, or take your hand away, whatever you need to do. Focus out, and then just tell yourself when you feel a bump or see a bump, just tell yourself, oh, this is just a small bump or whatever it is, and it doesn't need my attention. I don't need to do anything about it. It's just a bump. It won't help if I pick it. All right, so we'll take a little break here. It's always really important to just reflect. So learning happens in stages, and I told you a whole bunch of stuff, and right now what I want you to do is digest it a little bit. So maybe stop this recording and think like, okay, what are the most important things I learned, and write them down. Writing is magical. Writing really helps solidify learning for us. So now we're going to talk about two kinds of strategies: blocking strategies and state changing strategies. And usually we need both of these. Definitely using both helps us have more success more quickly. So usually we need both. And what I mean by blocking is to block yourself from seeing and touching your skin, because it's already, it's harder to not pick once you're already seeing or touching your skin. If you don't see your skin or you don't touch your skin, if you can block yourself from doing those things, there's really very little temptation to pick, and you won't, and it's physically impossible, right, to pick if you don't touch your skin. So ways of blocking yourself are blocking yourself from seeing by covering or removing mirrors, or wearing, long sleeves or pants or something, just socks, if you pick your feet, just whatever part of your body. Using things like gloves and bandages. These can block you from picking wherever, really, because, I used to put, like every night, I'd put bandages over the tips of my fingers before I got in bed, because I like to keep the light on and read a little in bed. And I just wouldn't do it. I would start picking while I was reading. So I used bandages for quite a number of months. I kept the mirror covered for well over a year. And periodically, I've had to, if I started to slip back, I've had to recover it for a little bit as well. Okay, and then, besides blocking yourself, it's important to change your state, because there are these states of, physical or mental or emotional being that are picky, that are like danger times for picking. And so physically, times when maybe you're overstimulated, it's been a long day, you've had a lot of things going on, just in your regular day, you might be just revved up or feeling anxious, being stressed, or even being tired. Being very tired can be a picky state. So recognizing these states so you can change them is important. Another kind of picky state would be those mental states. So if you've been sitting all day and not using your body and just thinking, doing a lot of thought work type of stuff, you might be just really totally in your head. You could be spacey is another thing, or unfocused, or just feel scattered in your thoughts. Those are all states of susceptibility to picking. And then emotionally, usually a picky type of state would be a strong emotion, usually negative, although, excitement can be a picky state too, even if it's a happy excitement. But more of the time, these are negative emotions that really trigger us to go for the picking. We just want to avoid those negatives. And so here are some examples of ways to change your state. The 488 breathing is in that freedom kit that if you sign up on my website, like if you're on my email list, you've signed up on my website and received this freedom kit that includes a video, how to stop skin picking urges in 2 minutes flat. And there I teach you this breathing exercise that really makes a remarkable difference. In like a minute and a half, you can change your state completely. So much reduce anxiety, so much reduce that picky feeling, the urge to pick, and be much more focused as well. And exercise is a great state changer. That really works for so many people, especially if, you just tend to pick from nervous energy from being in a sedentary state. When we talked earlier about hidden or internal stressors, just being sedentary is a stressor as well. And so exercise can really help. Taking a bath or shower can really change, that can very much help if you need a sensory experience, or, a hot bath can really calm you down. So these can take you from a picky to a not picky state. And EFT tapping, or emotional freedom technique, is a great way to neutralize those really strong negative emotions. And so if you tap when you're feeling those, you will be much less prone to picking. And, you can use that even just for that kind of revved up state, or, just any of these you can also use before you tend to be in a situation where you would pick. So if and you have to analyze your habits to do this, but if you tend to pick as soon as you get home and go to the bathroom, then you can make sure you do something before you do one of these before you go to the bathroom. And if there are any, if you're eating some artificial stuff, some sugar, and maybe even reducing caffeine, that will change your state too. Not as instantly, but that can kind of prevent you from being in these kind of states. So we all know, well, we know strategies, right? And even in other areas of our lives, we generally know what we quote unquote should be doing, but we resist doing them. It's just hard to make ourselves make positive changes, right? Which is why why coaching helps people so much, is just to help people implement. But you can do this yourself. You can make yourself a little more successful with a tool that I'm going to show you. So implementing, doing these strategies, you gotta be persistent with them, to do them often, frequently, and consistently, and have patience over time, because this takes time. This takes a lot of time. You've got to stay motivated. I mean, you might be motivated now, but keeping consistently motivated for a period of months is a challenge. That's really hard to do without somebody else helping you stay motivated. But there are tools, like I said. And accountable. Accountability is huge as well. It's like, okay, if you don't really have anyone to stay accountable to, it makes things harder. I mean, this is why we have tests in school. Even if you like your major, for example, when you're in college, even if you enjoy the things you're learning, would you study that much if you didn't have tests? It's just our tendency not to do the things that are good for us, even the things that we enjoy doing once we start doing them. Exercise, lots of people enjoy it and still resist it. So it's really important to have ways to hold ourselves accountable. And one of the ways we can do that for ourselves is this positive log that I'm going to tell you about. So the positive log is a tool where you record the positive actions that you took each day. As you do them, or at the end of the day, kind of review and write down, I did the 4-8 breathing 3 times, or I did some EFT, or I took a hot bath, or it could be I changed my thoughts from, I was thinking this and I answered myself in a positive way. You could record your wins, I was about to pick, I was leaning into the mirror or something, and I talked myself out of it. So this is really important because it keeps your focus on the process of this whole thing, of the process of reducing your picking, and it keeps your focus on the action, which is needed, and off the picking. Okay, so if your focus is always on the picking, it's you tend to go through this encouragement, discouragement cycle. It's just emotional roller coaster. because that's discouraging if you continually just focus on whatever picking you're doing. Whereas if you focus on like, hey, I'm taking these actions, yes, good for me, it's a lot more encouraging. And what we put our focus on grows. So if you do more actions, you'll do more actions. If you put your focus too much on the picking's too much in your consciousness, and it will unconsciously lead you to do more picking. So the positive log also encourages you to do more, because when you record these positive actions at the end of the day, you're more likely to remember to do them the next day. First of all, it's kind of like a gold star, like giving yourself a gold star when you write down, hey, this is what I did. You can feel good as you do that. And then you'll remember. You'll be much more likely to do it again the next day, do these things. And that's really important, to remember to keep taking these positive actions day after day, because making positive habits is the key. Because these things, they need to be done frequently and consistently. And doing things, the best way to do things frequently and consistently is to make a habit of them. Because when you make habits, things become easy. If you don't make a habit, it's like a decision that takes energy every single day to remember to do it and to decide to do it. Decisions take it out of us, And so making it a habit, or making these things habits, is so, so important. And so this will help you do that. Okay. So next important thing is really to get support. And so, a large reason for this is simply that, yeah, the positive log helps, but I mean, it's still just hard to make these new habits, It also, a source of support can help you learn more about this, stay encouraged. I can see in my clients' logs, they do this. I have a coaching software that I use that texts them at the end of the evening or at what time they choose. And it's a reminder for them to reply back with a number, just of rating how badly their picking was or how much their picking was. I mean, we don't want to focus on that, but it's important to keep track. And then a comment of like what positive things they do. That'll be associated with the point on the graph. So it graphs it for them and for me to look at. And it helps you stay encouraged, because a lot of times my clients are like focused more on the picking, and I'm able to see, well, look, you actually have done less in the last 2 weeks than you ever have. So sometimes you just don't see that. It's also really important to work with someone who believes in you, who you feel comfortable with, who understands what you're going through, and who believes that you can get better. And finally, support is really important for this accountability factor. Okay, so if you're working with a therapist or something, you may need to ask for more accountability, because I don't think that's typically in the training for therapy or for, training for body focused repetitive behaviors like skin picking. And I think it's so key. So, for example, I will give my clients in writing their, 1 or 2 or 3 specific new things that they're to work on in between our sessions. And that'll be almost the first thing I check in with the next time we speak. And also the daily accountability, okay, of the graph. That's really helpful. It's like and I learned that, way back at the Complete Idiot's Guide. It's like, when you stop logging is when you stop holding yourself accountable, and the picking goes crazy. So accountability is key. All right, well, that's the end of this part. So stop the recording again and really reflect on and write down, what did you get out of this second part? And then I'll tell you about the third part. So part three, I'm just going to tell you, if you're interested, what else I can offer you going forward. So, of course, there's my book, and that's available on all the different Amazons, Kobo, ibooks, all the online sellers, and also the audiobooks available here at this link. I do individual coaching. I love working one-on-one with people. And I also love group coaching. So I do have some group coaching coming up. So check out this link. I've got two groups coming up. One starts next week. The other one starts in, I think, 2 weeks. One's in the evenings in Europe, and that would be morning in US and Canada. And the other one is in the evenings US. So just US and Canada. And so those are, group, like the people who do the groups with me, they're so glad they did, because it's just incredible going through this at the same time with other people and connecting with them. So that's the idea of the group. I think I gave you, the things I mentioned about my coaching are applicable to both the individual and group. And I will offer you guys, I had a early bird discount for my group, and that's, it's not early bird anymore, but just for this webinar, if you want the group coaching at a special discount, I will give you the early bird discount. So just write to me, or if I promise you a different price, just write to me. So my new online course. My new online course. Okay. So I launched this back in October, just real quietly, and to my email list, because I just wanted to make sure before I put it out to everybody that people were learning from it. People were getting what I wanted them to get out of it, like in terms of, reducing their skin picking, feeling really good about it. So my new online course, I'm really excited about. It's at breakfreefromskinpicking.com. I worked on this, pretty much all last year, launched it quietly to my email list in October. Just wanted to make sure that the first several people who signed up there are having a good experience. And from the feedback, I have like a halfway check-in and an endpoint check-in in that. From the feedback now, I can see that people are getting a lot out of it, and they really like the structure of it and how it's helping them learn. So I will tell you a little more about that. And I just want to mention again, there's bonuses with both the coaching or course. Sign up by tomorrow. Now, since I had to do this again, and I'm not quite sure, I think I'll have it up at some point on Wednesday, but we'll see. So this is going to be good through Friday, at least in the US time zone. So we'll just say like by the end of Friday, Pacific time, you can get these bonuses, okay, that I'll talk about with with the online course and the coaching. So here's my online course. Here's like the little picture that comes with it. So it's a step-by-step system for gaining freedom from the vicious cycle of skin picking, healing your body and mind, and getting your life back. Sound great, right? Yeah. So it comes in 10 modules, and it's mainly PowerPoint presentations, just like what I'm giving right now. So if you like that, you'll love it. And worksheets. So the worksheets are really important, and the feedback on those has been great, that the worksheets have really been helpful for those people that provided feedback. There's some video, there's some audio, and some bonuses. So I'll take you through it real quick. So module one, this is more about mindset. So again, like we talked about today, helping you work through focusing on doubts to a focus that magnetizes you for success. Actually showing you how to do that with some exercises, get over those blocks that have been holding you back. Module 2 is seeing your picking clearly. So exposing those patterns, because we all have a number of habits that go with this. And this really helps you get at like who, what, when, where, why of your patterns. So you'll be able to accomplish the how of stopping. And then module 3, learning from that. So that's going to be logging a whole bunch of stuff in module 2. And in module 3, you're going to break those results down and be your own picking detective. So you're going to find the hidden patterns in your picking, things that you never realized before. And so you'll be able to know exactly what you need to do or where you need to disrupt and when and, all that kind of stuff. Module 4 is your blocking, redirecting, and sensory strategies. So we get a lot more in depth with that. Bust up those picking patterns starting now. And then module 5, getting calm and focused fast. So I do teach that 488 breathing and I think some other stuff, learn how to change your state quickly to one that's compatible with picking so you can stop before you start. So we get a lot more into the importance of this and how to do it. Module 6 is midway motivational tools, because that motivation to keep going and stay consistent is so important. This is giving you new strategies to stay motivated when you're feeling discouraged. And one of the worksheets here, I believe, I know there's a positive log in that it's more like a worksheet that you just print out a whole bunch of, you put in a binder, and it's like a checklist of positive things that you do every day. So that's really cool. Troublemaking thoughts, module 7. So we talked a little bit today about how your own thoughts get you to pick. We really get more into that in the specific thoughts, how to recognize those troublemaking thoughts and how to change them into thoughts that lead you away from picking instead. Module 8 is about food. Food matters. So asking, is your diet a disaster? Is your diet a disaster for your picking? Learn the common pitfalls about food, picking pitfalls, and how to test whether certain foods affect you. Module 9 is nutritional supplements. So sometimes they can make a big difference. And so I teach you which ones might decrease your picking and which ones clear up your skin, for example, if you have acne, and just which help you heal faster, no matter what, heal from the picking. Module 10, long-term success. Again, just more strategies to ensure your long-term recovery. And part of that is really like just state-changing overall and overall awareness. So it includes some how to meditate and a guided meditation audio where my voice is a lot better than it is today, and I lead you through meditation. All right. So it also includes some bonuses that are really great. So Brienne Griebel's Ultimate Acne Healing Cheat Sheet. She's a holistic acne coach, and it's a nice little flow chart she gives you here to figure out what you need to do. Christina Pearson's 2 Decades of Recovery Using Mindfulness. So this is a 45-minute video of an amazing interview I did with Christina. She's the founder of the Trichotillomania, the TLC Foundation, it's called now, for body-focused repetitive behaviors. And also now she has the Heart and Soul Academy she's founded and teaches mindfulness for body-focused repetitive behaviors. So this is an amazing conversation we have, and it includes a 30-second exercise of mindfulness that you can repeat several times a day. It really helps you refrain from picking. And that and Tammy Fletcher's What to Say to Loved Ones or Strangers video. So that's another video. And both of these I have excerpts of on YouTube. I put some excerpts, but there's some really good stuff that's not on the YouTube, that's only in these videos, bonuses. And I also give you my awesome resource guide with just a whole bunch of resources, where to find helpful things on the web, all that kind of stuff. And so today and tomorrow, or we're going to say through Friday, I'm giving you some bonuses. With the online course, you get 2 live Q&A conference calls. So we're going to do just a regular audio conference call where you guys can call in and ask me questions, ask me anything. And then you'll receive the recordings. We'll do them at 2 totally different times. So wherever you are in the world, you should be able to hopefully attend at least one live. And but even if you can't, you get the recordings. And then you get $25 off. So if you use the coupon code GET25 at checkout, you'll get $25 off the course, Break Free from Skin Picking course. And when you email me, so after you enroll in the course, email me, and support at stopskinpickingcoach.com is fine, or reply to the email that you got with this recording link, and just let me know if you prefer a free audiobook or free Kindle version of my book, Skin Picking, and I will gift you that too. All right, well, thank you so much. I apologize that my throat's a little froggy now, but I trust that you found this presentation helpful. And yeah, please feel free to visit stopskinpickingcoach.com, contact me through there, or just reply to the emails or whatever. And yeah, I would encourage you just to decide now on what are your next steps. Whether you're going to do coaching or my course or just something on your own. Make up your mind now while your mind's on it, while you've learned all this stuff, and choose what's your next step or two, and then go take it. And remember to acknowledge and feel good anytime you take positive steps. Feel good about yourself and just keep going, keep doing positive actions. And I know that you all can succeed at this. It just takes time and effort and attention, and often support. Bye bye. Thanks again.